My name is Jimmy Hahn. I work for the Diamondville Police Department as the Chief of Police. I'm 34 years old and I started chewing when I was 9. Started out with tobacco product of Copenhagen. Thought it was cool, everybody else did it, so I started doing it along with them. Never realized down the road I was going to have some serious problems with it because of it. I look back at why I started chewing. I put a lot of thought into it. The more I think about it, the more I realize it was everybody around me was doing the same thing. The peer pressure was unbelievable. Grandpa, grandmother, my brother, my father, my uncle, my cousins, my friends, everybody did it. I thought that was a cool thing to do. And I thought if I wasn't doing it, I wasn't cool. Was I wrong? I continued chewing Copenhagen from 9 to 15 years old. Around 15 years old, I went to the dentist. The dentist looked at my mouth for a normal checkup. He could tell I was chewing. He looked around and he could see little bumps on the gums. Told me and informed me what the health risk was and I needed to quit. It really didn't make much of a difference with me. I wasn't going to quit. I didn't think anything was going to happen to me. So I thought, I'll take up smoking. Maybe that'll give me a break from the chew and I won't have to do that anymore. So I started smoking cigarettes, thinking that'll take place of it. Next thing I knew, I was addicted to both. Lo and behold, a few years down the road, which would be the beginning of 2007, I noticed I had a lump at the back of my tongue. I didn't pay much attention to it. I didn't think it was a whole big deal. Next thing I know, it kept growing and growing and growing. I thought I better go to the doctor and get it checked out. So I took some time, went in. The next thing I know, the doctor's telling me I need to do a biopsy. I had to wait a week for the results. That was probably the longest week of my life. The doctor never would tell me what the problem was. He just said there was a concern, but I could see by the look on his face that it was something serious. A week later, I was at work waiting for the results. When the phone rang, the doctor on the other end told me I had squamous cell carcinoma and I was positive for cancer. My whole world was just drained. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was so scared. The doctor had told me that I had to get to the Huntsman Cancer Institute of Utah right off. I told him that I was kind of busy the next couple of days. He said I didn't have time to wait, that I needed to get to the hospital, and then explain more when I got there. I ended up going to the hospital, to the Huntsman Center, and sitting down with a cancer surgeon. I had no idea what I was about to hear. The cancer surgeon told me in order to fix this, they were going to take out a portion of my jaw, the bottom of my mouth, the partial underneath my tongue. Then they were going to take a piece of skin from my forearm to reconstruct inside of my mouth. They were going to take the main artery from the left side of my forearm to connect to my carotid artery for blood flow so it would heal. They were then going to take a piece of my left leg to regraft my arm. He had lost me. I couldn't believe what he was going to do to me, and I could understand why. I was still stuck on he was taking part of my jawbone out. The cancer surgeon then told me when surgery was complete and I was out of ICU, they were going to put me into chemo and radiation therapy. I had no idea what that was all about. I just knew it wasn't good because I'd heard about it. I kept sitting there thinking my birthday was May 7th and I didn't want to spend the 7th in ICU or the hospital. So I asked him if I could hold off and I'll have the surgery on May 3rd. He said that this was serious enough, I couldn't wait. Going with what the doctor said, I went ahead and scheduled the surgery for May 3rd. I'll never forget that morning getting up. The only thing that went through my head other than being scared was I have to smoke as many cigarettes and take a chew on the way to the Huntsman Center as I can. On the way there, as I'm smoking a cigarette and I have a chew in my mouth, I thought, how ironic. Here I go to have surgery from something I'm doing right now. This was the last day I ever smoked a cigarette or had a can of chew. On the way into the Huntsman Center that morning, I threw them both in the garbage can. As I walked into the Huntsman Cancer Institute that morning, they started prepping me for surgery. They started giving me all kinds of IVs and hooking me up to machines, and I can't tell you how scared I was. The surgery took a total of 15 hours. When I finally came to after the surgery, I was so disoriented I didn't know where I was. All I knew is I had a tracheotomy, which means I was breathing out my neck. I was bandaged up on the entire left-hand side of my body, and I had more wires coming out of me than I could count. I was in the ICU unit for approximately 7 days, at which time they finally brought me out. They finally let me go from the normal room from the hospital approximately a week later. They took out the tracheotomy so I could breathe through my mouth and my nose again. At this point, they were going to send me home, let me heal up for about a month, and they were going to start chemo and radiation treatment on me. The nightmare had just begun with me. I went home. I had to learn how to feed myself through a straw. The hose went through my nose, down my throat, into my stomach. I had to use a food pump to get it into the hose, squeeze it down into my throat. It was horrible, and it felt awkward. I went back to the Huntsman Center to start my chemo and radiation treatments.